Gunmen suspected to be kidnappers have abducted 6 passengers, including 3 staff members of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) along the Aloma axis in Kogi State. The victims, identified as Chineye Oji, Adamaka Ani, and Catherine Temung, were traveling from Abuja to Anambra State for preparations ahead of the governorship election when their Sienna minibus was ambushed on Tuesday afternoon, October 21. According to the bus driver, the kidnappers blocked the highway, opened fire on the vehicle, and shattered its windshield. All passengers, including his wife, were taken into the bush, except the driver and an elderly woman who were released due to her mobility issues. The woman recounting the incident said, "We were going to Oka when they attacked us. It happened shortly after 3 p.m. We left Utako by 9 a.m. and stopped briefly at Lokoja to eat. The kidnappers released me and the driver, but took the others." Sources revealed that the INEC staff members were deployed to Anambra to print voters' registers and election materials in preparation for the November 8th governorship election. Security agencies have been alerted and investigations are ongoing, though the kidnappers are yet to make any ransom demands. The attack raises fresh concerns over the safety of election officials and security of Nigeria's electoral materials ahead of the polls. This is a breaking story. I know that this won't be the first time we are talking about, the high rate of crime and kidnapping in the country. But what are your thoughts on this report?
I feel affected because this is the routes I used to travel whenever I'm going back home to Abuja. Stopping by in Kogi State, it is always a staple of the journey. So this is indeed a sad one to hear that things have deteriorated to such an extent, because I'm aware of the Kaduna Highway. That's the part where most people travel not to avoid, because it's usually dangerous. Right. But now it has moved into broad daylight kidnapping, where they are blocking the highway in Kogi State and taking over six people hostage, which is genuinely, it's a sad one that the country has fallen this far.
Right. Now, Kogi has been a lot in the news lately as regards the high level of kidnapping going on. That's not an isolated case as regards Kogi is not the only state that is, suffering this high span of kidnapping. But for the fact that particular direction, like you said, it's a staple that everybody that goes through must take that particular way. Why do you think we don't have security personnel and forces mounting those areas to make sure such things don't happen?
Honestly, I call it a lapse in judgment, because there are certain highways and roads that are critical to Nigeria's movement and the movement of Nigerians.
Right.
So if we're having such cases whereby these things are now not just growing, but growing in significance and scale based on the areas that are now being affected, then it's a lapse on the part of those that are in charge of our security infrastructure. Right. Because there are certain roads that that should be guarded. They hold certain significance. That this is a place where there have been reports. These things are not isolated incidents. There have been 1-2 incidents that have occurred, but they haven't been with the significance that they merit. Which is why this continues to happen, and it seems to embolden these kidnappers to go on more and more erratic sprees, just like what we have now.
Now, over the past few days on the news, I don't know if you've stumbled across the video of a lady that has been threatened. She was given till 5 p.m. yesterday for her family actually to pay 20 million naira, of which she seemingly said that her family do not have that money. It's a viral video. It's all over social media. When you look at that video and weigh it side by side with the president's speech as regard him saying that we are winning the war on insecurity, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think we're really winning the war when you scale it with what we see day to day over the president's speech?
There seems to be a large disconnect between the president and the citizens. There seems to be a very, very, very large disconnect between what the president says and what people tend to experience. Because now we have so many cases, broad daylight kidnappings, whether it's communal clashes, whether it's kidnappings on the road, on federal highways, it doesn't seem to be abated. It doesn't seem like there is a solution. So when you hear the president come out and issue statements where he's stating, oh, the war is coming to an end, or we're combating it to a severe enough extent, the disconnect is not connecting, because how is it that the people that are expressing this reality are facing a different reality from what the Grand Commander of the Federal Republic seems to be telling them?
Right.
And is he trying to... Okay, go on.
No, I was listening to you, please.
Okay, yeah. Is he trying to state that people's reality is not, their current reality, and that the situation is actually better than people that are living the reality as stating it to be? Right.
You are a Nigerian, and you live in Nigeria. You're a Nigerian in Nigeria. Like a friend of mine usually say, this is our Nigeria collectively, right? When you look at this case of kidnapping, you likely, rightly said that these kidnappers, they've been emboldened over the years. I mean, they now actually have videos, especially with the viral video I was just talking to you about, where this video was somehow posted on social space. It didn't fly into the media. It didn't fly into the internet. Somehow a channel was used to post this. Now, when you think about that, and given the high rise of tech and all of these ideologies that can be used to track these criminals and nail this situation to the bud, what do you think is lacking? What do you think has, why do you think our security agencies haven't been able to nail this at least at the barest minimum? And put into cognizance that, many societies are trailed with several things. There's no perfect society that you say is completely devoid of crime, right? But when you look at it, certain parts of the problems in several societies are managed with the emboldenment of these kidnappers. As I yesterday, after this report was, trending at the time, that INEC officials have been, kidnapped and on their way to prepare for the Anambra State elections holding on November 8th. Another set of people did make videos that they were sharing that were shared on social media, where they packed all of their buses at a pathway because they said kidnappers were still in front. I mean, do you think that we have used the appropriate tools and technical know-how, and it's just these kidnappers have been so emboldened that it is now bigger than the Nigerian government? Why do you think this hasn't been nipped in the bud?
That's a very interesting one. Personally, I'm into project management, specifically IT. Okay. And I am indeed aware that from social media posts, we can indeed track your location. My company, we can run things like that, where we find out people's location from social media posts. It's not particularly what we do because we create software, but we are educated enough on how this can be done. Right. And it brings me back to a very interesting statement that has been going viral recently of Sani Abacha, where he stated, any act of terrorism or any terroristic act or terror group that lasts more than 24 hours, the government has a hand in it. Now, this is not point fingers at the government and say, oh, they are sponsoring acts of terrorism, which indeed there have been reports of government officials sponsoring acts of terrorism. Here we have now these criminals, bandits, they come out to peace meetings. They call it peace meetings and peace negotiations.
Fully armed.
With the government, with fully armed, with multiple cartridges, multiple magazines or many rounds of ammunition all around their chests. And they say, okay, they are coming from them. And you see them in groups of 30, 40. They are coming out to make demands. Like, the government doesn't do this, they will do this, they will start attacking people here, they will do that. Traditionally, a sovereign nation should not be negotiating with terrorists.
Right.
Should not be negotiating with terrorists. But what we have is a case where these people come out, they grant interviews, they post online. We know where they are. But no decisive action, no action, matter of fact, is even being taken. Now we come to the issue of kidnappers. Recently, the president posted a list of people that were pardoned for crimes. About Macaulay was in that list. His family rejected the list because they said his name was wishing them criminals and kidnappers. And truly, one of the most notorious kidnappers in Nigeria that was caught a couple years ago and sentenced to a long time in prison was indeed released. So what kind of precedent does that set?
Right.
Because now you are telling people that, oh, your acts of crime and criminality can be pardoned, can be forgiven. You are giving people that are already emboldened more ammunition to go off of. So there's a huge disconnect between the stories we are being told and the reality on the ground. And I think nearly not enough is being done to try to combat the issues that we face in terms of security.
When you say not enough is being done, the primary function of government, as it were, is to make sure that the citizens are safe. At what point did we have this disconnect that is seemingly feels like, the government thinks a different thing and the citizens think a different thing? At what point do we have the disconnect, and how do we move forward from here? What strategies do you think should be put in place for us to nip this in the bud? The person yesterday crying with a gun pointed to her head, someone's sister, someone's child, a citizen of Nigeria, her only crime is going to Edo State as a youth corper. How do we nip this in the bud?
Right. Well, it's a rather interesting one, but I feel there needs to be consequences.
Okay.
For so long, the military leaders of Nigeria have gotten away with incompetence. That's what I'm going to put it plainly: utter incompetence. Whether it's the police, whether it's military, there should be everybody that steps into that seat. Personally, in my opinion, everybody that steps into that seat should be given 30 days. You have a 30-day ultimatum. If you want to see numbers going down, that is the only way you retain that seat. If you are not cut out for it, then you kindly step aside. So somebody that has better ideas, because there seems to be a lack of idea. There seems to be a lack of how to approach the topic. From all the military leaders we have, from all the various posts and offices that are supposed to be in charge of Nigerian security, there is not enough. I feel they are too calm. For a country that we experience mass killings, in most, we stated earlier that most countries have their own issues.
Right.
But for a country like Nigeria, where we hear, 200 people were killed, nowadays it's become so commonplace. 200 people were killed. You swipe to the next headline, tragic. You swipe to. In most countries of the world, if 20 people, 10 people are killed, national outrage. People are resigning. People are getting fired. But it seems to be in Nigeria, 200 people were killed. Wow. Anyways, let's move on from that topic. And everybody just goes on with their day. It is not giving the level of significance that the conversation merits. So I think, first off, we have to put our military leaders, our servicemen on the hot seat. We should invest a lot in hardware, because these terrorists, whoever is sponsoring them, appears to be very wealthy. They have high caliber weapons. They do not suffer from a lack of supply. Why do we not know? To move these things in large quantities, how do they get these things shipped to them?
Right.
How do they receive all these guns? How do they receive? Whose account is getting credited? Okay, you are paying ransom. You are paying it into somebody's account. Whose name is showing up? Why can't the account be frozen? Why can it not be tracked? These are things that basic tech companies can do. A lot of basic tech companies or cybersecurity firms can take care of these things. So I feel there are indeed solutions. But for whatever reason, the government seems to be more interested in pushing a narrative that, you're not as unsafe as you think, or you're not as unsafe as the reality you are living. Trust us. We don't live your reality, but just trust us.
Really, really, really sad times ahead, and hopefully, they'll get the INEC officials out, because I don't know what's going to happen with the people that were living where they are and headed for the Anambra State elections.